Some biomes in Minecraft are really freaking cool, and some are really stupid. Today we're going to be going through all over 50 biomes in the Nether, the overworld, and the end, and ranking them based on how much I like them. Let's do it! My least favorite biome of all time are the ice spikes. How in the world is someone in survival going to survive on this? I freaking can't stand it. There's very few trees. Now, obviously, this biome's a little bit small because there are some trees right here with the surrounding biome. But in a normal big ice spikes biome, there are hardly any trees and any resources. Hardly any animals spawn in them as well, and the caves are extremely limited. If you want to play Minecraft hardcore on an extra hard mode, go ahead and go to the ice spikes because I don't want to see them anymore. I mean, I guess they're kind of pretty, but they all look the same. So next up, I'm ranking all of the end biomes together. The end highlands, the barrens, the midlands, all of the lands. I am just personally not a fan. I understand that the end is supposed to be extremely barren and there's not a lot to do, but they kind of took that to the extreme. Obviously, you can look around for end cities and everything. Oh, there's one. You can look around for end cities and everything and get an elytra, but besides of that, it's just not that interesting. It's very boring, and I think it could do with a lot more decor. Next up, we are in the basalt deltas, and obviously, I don't think any of you guys expected this biome to be extremely high. It is just awful. There's magma cubes, there's tons of magma blocks. You can get knocked into the lava very easily. In my hardcore world that I'm live streaming almost every single day, my fortress is right next to a basalt delta, and I am constantly worried that a magma cube is going to sneak up into my butt and knock me out into the lava. Obviously, the terrain's just not that helpful. The blocks don't really do anything special. The glowstone is cool, I guess, but this is only because this is a high one. Other than that, they're pretty freaking useless. Also, check out this really cool bastion that's right next to it. This is kind of a cool nether spawn. The soul sand valley is better than the basalt delta simply only because it's flat. Other than that though, it is absolute trash. It is extremely hard to walk through because it's all made out of soul sand. Granted, you do have soul soil, which is easier to walk on than soul sand, but having an entire biome made out of something that slows you down really sucks. If you're stuck right here and this is where you spawn in, trying to build around here, especially in a hardcore world, would be absolutely devastating. But besides that, the fire's pretty cool, but honestly, I don't like it that much. The last F tier biome is the snowy taiga, in my opinion. I am just not a fan. I don't like biomes generally that are packed with trees and don't really allow for many other things to be there, but the snowy taiga is especially bad because the snow piles up on the ground. I cannot freaking stand the snowy biomes to begin with for the most part because they're just obnoxious, but it's also so freaking dense that monsters can spawn and totally ruin your day. And also, there's not a lot of mobs that spawn here. Yeah, you'll get the occasional mob that spawns, but you're not going to get as many as like the plains. Overall, I just feel like out of all of the wooded biomes, this is by far the worst. And as we cross into the first D tier world, you'll notice in the top left, we now move into a frozen river. So, frozen river is a little bit better than the taiga simply because of one thing. The fact that you can zoom on it. Other than that, there's not really much use for it. I do like that you can get away from monsters pretty quick. It is pretty fun. Wow, that's some weird generation over there. But anyway, other than that, the frozen river just doesn't do very much. Can you guess where we are before I say it? Let me know in the comments. We are at the snowy beach. Now the snowy beach is a little bit better than the others that I've mentioned so far, only because the sand's pretty cool and I love beaches. Other than that though, it suffers the same, oh I fell. It suffers the exact same problem as all of these other ones so far. It's just a beach but a little bit more boring and more stuff to dig out. While I'm getting tired of all the frozen areas that we've mentioned so far, I will say the frozen peaks is the best of them yet. The fact that you can have these incredible views looking down at that really cool glacial landscape just adds so many points in my book. It obviously suffers from the same problems as a lot of the other ones that we've mentioned, that the resources are extremely limited. The snow gets annoying to traverse in, but other than that, it's a really cool area to build like a nice mountain base. I like it, but it's not nearly my favorite. For the number 41st spot, do you guys want to see the smallest biome of these that I've ever seen in my life? We have the dark forest. Now, as you can tell, this is a pretty depressing looking dark forest, as they're normally much bigger than this. And this is obviously a very controversial opinion. In my opinion, the dark forest suffers from a lot of problems that we've seen a little bit in the past, but the opposite. With the snowy biomes, monsters are just kind of out in the open and there's not really a lot of places to go. And this one, yeah, there's places to go because normally they're really big covered canopies, but unfortunately, there's a lot of shade, meaning monsters can spawn a little bit more. Obviously, there's some caveats, like, yeah, you can build a moat with your house, you can make a lot of things to make it more secure, but generally, I'm not a big fan of the Dark Forest, and I'm not a big fan of woodland mansions to begin with. That's the interesting thing that happens in Dark Forest, in my personal opinion. They're kind of boring and I'm not a fan. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to another entry in this tier. Yet again, it's funny that it worked out like this because now we're in the old growth pine taiga. Before I started researching this video, I didn't even know this was a biome. But honestly, it's just not my favorite. The spruce wood is not my favorite. When people make builds with it, it normally looks pretty good, but I can't build with it. And I just don't like how the trees look. I just feel like it looks the most, I don't know, beginner out of all of the biomes that we've looked at so far. It's not that there's a serious problem. I just think the visuals are pretty freaking ugly. If you look over here and like all the mossy cobble and all this and everything, everything. It looks like a forest, I mean, I'll give them that, but it's just not that interesting. Like I've said many times so far, anytime where there's just some deep forests, it's kind of hard to impress me because there's just trees. I like trees, but it's a lot of trees. The first person to guess what the difference is in the biome that I'm in right now versus the last one that we looked at wins the pinned comment of the day. Because now we are in the spruce taiga, the old growth spruce taiga. I don't know about you, besides tree shape, is there any difference? I just don't think it's that good. Obviously, that's why it's ranked right next to the other one. They just look very similar. I feel pretty much everything the same that I feel about that one over there with this one right here. So if you have a question about how I feel, go look at the previous entry. The Minecraft Grove is home to these sleeping cuties right here, and how could I rank it terribly low when these guys exist? Other than that though, this grove suffers from the exact same problem from a lot of the other ones that we've mentioned so far, is that it just looks very freaking similar. Groves aren't exactly impressive. They're part of the Caves and Cliffs update, but they're a little bit, I guess, visually cooler looking than the other things that we've mentioned so far. So honestly, I wish I had a little bit more to say on the grove itself, but it just doesn't have that much to offer, and there's not honestly a lot to say about it. It's time for another controversial option. Here we are. I know we are in the meadow, and hear me out. You guys are gonna probably hate me for this one. I think it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It's not in a terrible tier for that reason. It's at the top of this tier. I only am not a fan just because A, they're pretty generally small, but there's two other biomes that just do everything that this does much better. Plains and the flower forest, to name them right now. The flowers are limited in this biome, and the plains are generally much bigger with a lot much more food and everything. You guys will see that in a little bit. So it's like the meadow, in my opinion, is just a little bit disappointing. It's cool, don't get me wrong, but like, I mean, brown sheep, what do you think about the meadow? Hello? Hey, listen to me.
Subscribe.
Okay, I agree. Other than ruining my hardcore Let's Play episode 3, what has the Warden done for anybody down here in the Deep Dark? I will say, the ancient city does look really cool, which is why it's pushed all the way up to C, but the fact that there's very little reward for beating the Warden, and honestly there's just not a lot of reason to come visit the ancient city, makes the Deep Dark have to go lower on my list. I think the blocks are pretty cool, and like I said, the structure is freaking awesome. Having a city underground is incredibly cool, but I just hate how they implemented it. The Warden is not an interesting boss. I've been critical of it forever, and honestly, like, look at this chest. What are you gonna have in, what are you gonna have in you? Blast protection 4 iron leggings. I don't think so. Now, finishing up the C tier, we have the Dripstone Caves. Now, the problem I have with them is not how they look. Let me say something. The stalactites and stalactites are really cool. I'm gonna be honest. And there's some that look absolutely incredible, like in my hardcore series right now, but some of them look absolutely depressing like this. This is all we get? Like, no, and I understand that's just Minecraft world generation, but the problem is they just vary so heavily. Sometimes they just look like a brand new normal cave, it sucks, and then some are like these massive just explosions of dripstone. It is just the coolest thing in the world to me. But anyway, this finishes out the C tier, so let's start going to the ones that I actually like a little bit that I'm less critical of. So for our first B tier, we have the Windswept Hills. Now, obviously, they are pretty cool. I actually have 3 entries right here, the Windswept Hills, Savannah, and something else I'm forgetting right now. They are all pretty similar in the sense that I like them. They're pretty interesting. You know, they have some flat tops on top. They're like little mounds instead of being giant mountains. I think they're pretty cool. There's not really much to say except, yeah, the grass is cool. The gravel looks cool. I just overall think it's a pretty decent area. I guess the one reason that it's at the lower part of B tier is just because it's normally surrounded by my nemesis, the snowy and icy biomes. But other than that, I like it quite a bit, so yeah, pretty solid biome. What could I say about the Stony Peaks other than there's no quite biome like it? With emeralds spawning naturally at the very tippy top, being surrounded by these really cool areas, what can I say? We got a plains biome over there. Dang, this is a pretty good seed. Jungle biome right there, forest over there. It's savanna, dang! It's a perfect place to build a base. And generally, when they're built like this and you have like an inner forest right here, you can make something really, really cool. As with any mountain biome, if you have like anything like this, it's gonna be really hard to flatten this whole thing out to build a base on. But if you have the time for it, it's not a bad place to do it. I'm not gonna pretend that the jagged peaks are not a small biome because they are extremely tiny generally. It took me actually 3 or 4 other ones to find one that was big enough to make content about. And as you can tell, I think they are awesome. They remind me of the Farlands a little bit because of just how it looks on the side over here. You see what, like from 150 all the way down to about, I don't know, what is that, 30? There's just so much to look at. It's so unique, you know? And if you have your house at the very top over here, I guess this is the plains. If you have your house at the very top over here, you can like literally overlook this ocean. There's just such cool generation that comes with this that I can't help but respect it. Obviously, my biggest problem with it is that they are small and their resources are thin. This one's lucky that it's next to a plains biome, but a lot of them aren't that lucky. So it's decent. It's a solid B tier, but let's get into something I like a little bit more. As much as I want to admit having a snow biome up high on this list does not make me happy, I have to say the snowy slopes is one of my favorites simply because of just how it looks. I think it's really cool that they have an entire biome dedicated to not being the peak but a nice old middle ground right here where things can spawn that are interesting and it stays relatively flat. I think it's a really cool idea to like build my house right here, and even though I'm looking at one of my least favorite biomes of all time, I hate you frozen thingies, but other than that, having like a house right here overlooking anything is just always going to be super cool. And besides, there's goats here. What do you think about this?
Please save me, Rob is ugly.
I will say the frostbite is a little annoying. Snowy plains aren't bad, same as the last one, but hey, this one has dirt, and it's a little bit less annoying to traverse through, so it's better in almost every way. Also, have you subscribed and liked the video yet? Please do it, it would make my day. So which biome am I about to talk about? Well, I will say it is not the Crimson Forest, it is actually the Nether Waste, which refers to pretty much everything that is not a Crimson Forest, a Blue Forest, or the Soul Sand Valley, or the Basalt Deltas. The Nether Waste is just general Nether. And I have to say, even though it is creepy and I hate going in here in survival, it is extremely well done. I really like the fact that they made a hellish dimension, and it's scary as all get out. However, it's classic, it's nostalgic. How could you not put it in B tier? The Mangrove Swamp is one that I don't have a lot of experience in. I think if I was to spend some more time here and actually play a world where I had one near me, I may like it a little bit more, but it suffers from a lot of the same problems that like the wooded dark forest had, where it's just extremely dense. But it's a swamp, it's really supposed to be like that. I have to say, the wood's really freaking cool looking. I like the different colored water, it looks pretty cool. But as you can tell, some of these go on for freaking ever. I swear I'm not against the conservation of pandas and the removal of their extinct or endangered status. However, I do not like the bamboo forest as much as I wish I did. The problem is it's extremely annoying to traverse in, and it just gets extremely tall and extremely blocky. The jungle is already dense enough, but when you have this bamboo that just grows at a rapid rate at all times around you, it gets a little frustrating. You know what's funny is like the past three have been like in a row. You have the mangrove swamp right there, you have the bamboo forest right here, and now we're in the sparse jungle. And the sparse jungle is better than the bamboo forest in my opinion, and I actually like it quite a bit. The reason I do is because it is flat, it reminds me of the Great Plains, however you still get the super cool jungle trees, and in my opinion jungle wood is one of the best looking in the game. You can make those giant jungle woods, it's so super cool, but it also has its own oak, so you can do a jungle and oak combination, which I just think is super fun. There are a lot of cool areas generally with them. I wish it just had a little bit more because there's not a lot that really happens in the sparse jungle, but I will say it is a nice crossover between one of my favorite biomes and one that I like quite a bit, being the jungle. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yet again we are at another back-to-back-to-back, and now we are at the windswept savanna. So this is a pretty small windswept savanna, but as you can tell it is these super cool decorations with savanna grass. Now savanna obviously has the most, what is that, desaturated of the colors in terms of like the forest, especially compared to the jungle, but I like the ones that are super crazy, and this is absolutely freaking insane. I absolutely love the windswept savanna. Okay, maybe that's a little too far. I think it's a pretty cool thing. I don't know if I absolutely love it. Anyway, I'm messing this script up. Let's get to the next one. I kid you not, literally right over there is the windswept savanna, and yet here we are at the birch forest, which is the first forest, I believe, technically in the video so far. And I will say the birch forest is pretty freaking solid. I love the birch trees so much. You have the yellow meadow. Remember I said earlier that the meadow was lower on my list just because you can get everything somewhere else and generally better. Well, here's the flowers that we were missing, and here are these beautiful birch trees. Now I will say the one thing about the birch forest that I like more than the normal forest that we haven't quite gotten to yet is the fact that it seems a little bit more sporadic, so that, you know, things are a little bit more put away and there's less area for monsters to spawn. There's more out in the open. Other than that though, not much to say. Pretty solid biome. Man, we're at a back because now we are in the forest. Honestly, pretty much everything I said in the birch forest portion relates to this. Say that 5 times fast. Wow. Birch forest portion, wow, I'm gonna accidentally say something bad if I continue saying that. So everything about the birch relates to the situation. However, I will say because birch wood spawns naturally here, you just get 2 types of wood. And that has to edge it out slightly. I think honestly by vibes alone, I like how the birch wood looks a little bit more, but the fact that I can get both oak and birch makes this one a little bit better. You ever hate something so much that you start to like it? I've been extremely critical about the taiga biome so far, I'm gonna be honest. And I will say, I still am not a big fan. It's been very similar to other things we've talked about that works way lower on this list, but when it comes to the taiga biome, there's one thing about it that I do like, and it's the memories that I've made. I've had countless worlds with both high school friends, college friends, all the friends, even my brother as well, where we've gone and we've explored the taiga and everything. Even though I absolutely cannot stand it, and I like the way the forest looks a lot more, the nostalgia hits a little bit harder for this one over the others. Remember how I said I really like the birch biome? Well, over here we have the old growth birch biome. And when I tell you this is the start of the A tier, it is the ones that I really, really like. Now, like I said, I love birchwood. It's one of my favorite woods in the game, but this is better in almost every way because my problems that I've had with those hello wooded areas where monsters could spawn and they're really like deep and they're very thick, these ones are just tall and thin, so it's way less likely to spawn a bunch of monsters in the daytime, and we're going to have a little bit less of a problem. Now, obviously, there's not really much going on, which is why it's at the bottom of the A tier, but I will say, you mix one of my favorite biomes with it being a little bit better in every way, I'm going to like it. 5,000 blocks away from the beautiful world of Birch, we are now in the eroded Badlands. Now, obviously, I know this is going to probably make a lot of people mad, and trust me, I get it. But when we talk about these really cool spikes and just really cool terrain, I really love it. The stained clay, or what is it called now, terracotta, it just looks so good in my opinion. I love the color scheme that they went with, and the fact that there's so many things to look at. I don't know. I think it's just such an overhated biome. It's never going to be my top favorite because finding resources here sucks, but I absolutely think it's so cool. Like, look at this. It's just so much more different than the rest of the Minecraft world, and I love it for that. Out of all of the plateaus in this game, I think the Savannah Plateau is one of the best because I just love how it melts into the architecture. Look at that Savannah mountain up there. Obviously, I'm not going to like it as much as the biome that I like, but I'm going to like the mountain because it just simply has to do with the other one. I think the Savannah Plateau is pretty freaking solid for a mountain. And the next one is the Savannah. I love the Savannah so much. Obviously, it's not my favorite biome. I think we're at like, what, 17th or 18th right now? I think it is a very good looking biome though because of how the things spawn and like what the animals look like. I just think everything matches. The wood's not my favorite. The color scheme for the villages is not my favorite. But does it match the vibe of the Savannah? Absolutely it does. And that's something I have to appreciate and put my personal biases aside. That being said, I give the Savannah a solid 8 out of 10. We are finally at the ones that I really love. If I spawn here, I'm like, let's go. There's plenty of food. There's plenty of wood. There's plenty of things I like. What do you think over here, Mr. Cow? Do you like it in here?
Fat cow moo.
Yeah, I agree. The second to last nether entry on this list, the Crimson Forest, is definitely not bad. I think the nether update was pretty solid. I wish there was more added, but I do love the Crimson Forest. The trees look freaking awesome. The hoglins are terrifyingly cool. There's so much about it that I like. I think in terms of the decor, they did the red design extremely well and made it menacing yet really fun. At the very top of A tier, the swamp is just a solid biome. I love oak wood, as I've mentioned many times already, and I love the vines. I just think the swamp looks great. I think the mangrove swamp obviously kind of outclasses it in looking like a true and tried swamp, but my nostalgia glasses are on, and the swamp is a pretty solid biome. I do like the swamp more because the trees are more sporadic and it's a little bit less congested, but overall, there's not really much to say except good job, swamp. I like your lily pads and your slime cube blocks. What do you get when you have a pretty flower and the plains biome? You get a biome that I'm probably gonna like. So the first spot of S tier, spot number 15, I believe, are the Sunflower Plains. Now, the reason that it's so low on this list is because looking at it this way, it's gorgeous. But if you look at it this way, it looks like a bunch of weeds in your garden. Obviously, though, it's a very pretty area. And next up, number 14, we have the Sunflower Plains. Just kidding, we have the beach. So the beach is awesome. I'm sorry, I think it's super cool. I've seen people make beach houses or like shipwreck houses, everything. You can find shipwrecks on the beach. That's freaking cool. I like it. You know, the seed is really making me happy because it's 1, 2, 3 villages are over there. We have so many villages in this area. And next up, we have to be talking about the river. So the river is better than pretty much any of the other biomes I mentioned so far, which I guess you guys could have guessed because it's higher on the list. However, I love it just because it's so easy to traverse and generally find an ocean. I love the Minecraft river. Getting on a boat with your friends and starting to go off into the ocean, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is just so freaking fun in my opinion. You can find so many animals in here like squids and fish and everything. You can go fishing. There's just so many things to do with the river, and there's so many builds that you can make that just make it so classic, so fun, so nostalgic, and I love it. For the 12th entry on this list, we have the jungle. The Minecraft jungle is my favorite. Oh my god. Well, I guess it's not my favorite. It's my 12th favorite. But I love it so much. It is so cool. People hate on it so much. And I think the Junglewood, like I said earlier, is absolutely beautiful. And I know you're probably like, Rob, you're hated so much on my favorite area because it's, you know, has a big canopy and whatever. And it's so hard to find your way in. Yeah, true. But jungles are like that in real life. And I love this biome. The temples are awesome. I have yet to ever find one in survival naturally. The parrots are super cute. There's just so much to love about it. And now we've reached the scary Pale Garden. The Pale Garden is terrifying. Obviously, it's hard to find, which makes it rare, but it's super cool. Look at that. But it's awesome in the sense that it makes your entire screen go dark. There's the creaking, which I feel like I'm almost like contractually obligated to like it because it's one of my most viewed reels. This is a really... Oh my gosh, I found a woodland mansion. And it goes into the Pale Forest? Okay, I take it back. This biome's a lot cooler. But no, I think it was really like long past time that Minecraft added a scary biome. And the fact that they did, I like it a lot. So I was getting to the nether to find the next part of this video. I want you to look what I just spawned into. A freaking fortress. Again, if you guys want the seed, here it freaking is. What in the world? Next up, we are in the Warped Forest. Now, how could I not like this? It's better than the Crimson Forest in almost every way, and it is my favorite part of the nether because I don't have to do that freaking piglin trading. So many endermen that naturally spawn here. Oh my gosh, this one's in a fortress too? But all that being said, I just love the vibe. Blue, as you guys know, blue, purple, and pink are my channel colors, and it's freaking blue everything in the nether. It's just such a nice contrast from the otherwise depressing red. The Stony Shore is one of my personal favorites because it is where the ores most commonly spawn. Wow, there's literally like none. Okay, there's some copper. And I have found so many. I know it's not the rarest thing ever to find, but I don't know why. And every single time that I play Minecraft Survival for this entire channel, I always find stony beaches everywhere. And it's always where I end up having the best luck. I just like the idea of having a beach that I mentioned I liked before with all this flatness. Stone, a much more helpful resource than sand. Other than that, though, there's not really much to say, but I like it. And where there's a stony shore, there is an ocean. You guys probably knew it was coming. The ocean is my 8th favorite biome in Minecraft because I just love that it connects absolutely everything. Going on a big old dive to find some treasure, not fighting the drowns, I hate those things. I just have so much fun. Obviously, I know I wish there was a little bit, like a few more mobs in here, but all like the buried treasures and the giant ships and everything just make it a very interesting area. You know, you can go from one, you know, plains biome to a desert, and you'll never freaking know. My 7th favorite biome is the Lush Caves. Look, I know, you're probably gonna be like, Rob, what in the freaking world is wrong with you? But when I tell you that it is so cute to find the freaking axolotls and everything, it's just such a cute area. Obviously, this one kind of sucks because there's nothing here. But I will say this biome is one of my favorites. Also, if we can find diamonds, you guys have to hit the subscribe button. Where were the... Oh my gosh, they're right here. Let's go. Please subscribe. I love you. You guys already know one of my many controversial takes is that I like the eroded badlands. So literally right over here is the flatter version of what I already said I liked a lot. The problem with the eroded, like I said earlier, is that they're very spiky and it's just a lot going on. But this is the same exact thing, but a lot more calmer. And also, look right over here. This desert is like surrounded by the badlands and it's like a village and a temple and everything. What in the world? But it fits because here we are in the desert. Also, if you want the chords, there they are. We are now in the desert, and the desert is absolutely one of my favorite biomes of all time. I know it's barren. I know there's not a lot to look at. However, look at the villages. The villages are one of my favorite parts. The temples are so fun to explore. There's just so much of it I like. The desert's just so solid. I would not blame you if you hated me for putting the plains as 4th. I love the plains, and I know there's a lot of people whose favorite biome is the plains of all of them. And trust me, I get it. The plains are such a good biome. It's the perfect place to start out. There's plenty of trees. Obviously, they're a little bit less often to be found in the forest, but they normally border a forest. There's water around them. Villages spawn all the freaking time. Pillager outposts are here. There's so many events that you can do with the plains. I'm doing a survival playthrough. You almost need villagers to have a more fun time. So having a plains biome is just so freaking beneficial. They're so easy to explore. There's so many animals. You can build farms. It's just great in so many ways. The only reason I have it less than the other 3 that are not on yet are just because the other 3 hold a little bit more value to me, but the plains is almost perfect. I'm a man whose favorite color is pink and who loves flowers. And here we are, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Oh, not the meadow, ew! The flower forest is one of the best biomes in all of Minecraft because it has almost all of the dye options. You remember how earlier I said I really like the meadow, but I just think it's outdone by some other ones? Well, here's a meadow up here, which is cool, but when you have a flower forest which has so many more colors, now this is a pretty puny flower forest compared to some of the other ones, I just think it's better. There's more resources, there's more to look at, there's more to do, and I just think they're absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, they're pretty rare to find, but having so many flowers and so many dye options just makes your decorating your house so much more fun. I know in my current hardcore playthrough, my house is actually in a flower forest biome, bordered by the number 2 on this list. My favorite color is pink, and having an entire biome with pink trees and pink everything, I'm gonna like it. It is one of the most gorgeous biomes because look, if you go under one of the trees, look at it, the petals like go down. There's not a lot of other things in Minecraft that have that really cool animation, and I just really enjoy it. They're extremely peaceful. Unfortunately, obviously, they spawn mobs, so they're not that peaceful, but they're just so fun to look at. They're great for decorating. They're like the wood, the planks are all pink tinged. It's just a beautiful biome. If you decorate anything and you want like a really cool mystical vibe, this is your place to go. Remember how I said number 8 was the ocean? Imagine being surrounded by one of my top 10 favorite biomes in an uninhabited island that does not spawn any bad guys. Even in the caves, I tested that on my hardcore world. I found the biggest mushroom island probably in all of Minecraft yesterday, and even deep down in the caves, monsters don't spawn. You're with mushrooms that give you unlimited food so long as you have wooden bowls. Oh my gosh, there's another one over there. Yes, they're extraordinarily rare, but if you find one, you pretty much hit the jackpot because you have an unlimited food source forever. You could literally retire here. But that's just my favorite. I want to hear from you guys. What are your favorite and least favorite worlds? What do you agree with? What do you not agree with? Be sure to subscribe, like. I will see you guys in the next video. You guys have a great rest. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.